Hello, my name is Rita McKay, and today I'm going to read you a story. It's from my book called Life Lessons with RJ. The story is called RJ Learns a Life Lesson at Her Grampy's House. RJ lived in a house with her father, mother, and baby brother, whose name was JD. RJ was only 4 years old, but even at such a young age, she knew that she could learn a lot. One thing RJ learned was that her name RJ was short for Rita Janissa. She was given the name Rita after her mother, whose name was also Rita. And her other name, Janissa, was given to her because RJ's mother had read a book called Janissa and had liked the book very much. RJ was called RJ for short, so as to make it easy in the house to tell which person was being called, because her mother had been named after her paternal grandmother. RJ had learned that the word paternal means that the grandmother was from her mother's father's side of the family. When RJ's mother and her mother's paternal grandmother were both in the house at the same time, they would both answer when someone called Rita. When RJ's mother was young, to make it so it wasn't so confusing, RJ's mother was called Little Rita. RJ's mother did not want to call RJ Little Rita, like she had been called. So RJ was called by the initials her name made. It would take RJ a few years yet to fully understand how those in her family, which made up her family tree, were related. Today, RJ was going to visit her maternal grandfather. Maternal means the person related to you on your mother's side of the family. RJ loved to visit with her Grampy. He liked to make things out of wood, and he had made a special peg in his closet that was just the right height for hanging her coat. And there's the peg, see it? Normally, RJ hung her coat up just right, but today she was in such a hurry to see her Grampy that her coat didn't cooperate, but fell onto the floor. And there it is. Instead of picking up her coat, RJ left it on the floor and started to walk into the front room where her Grampy was. Before she had gone very far, RJ's mother called her back and asked her to pick up her coat. Instead of obeying, RJ told her mother she would do it later. RJ's mother told her she would like RJ to do it now. RJ continued to refuse, so her mother asked her why she would not pick up her coat. Instead of answering her mother, RJ kept right on going into where her Grampy was sitting. Grampy had been listening to this argument go on, so he said, RJ, I think you need to learn a life lesson. What's a life lesson? RJ asked. Grampy picked RJ and put her on his lap and said, a life lesson is when you hear a story that teaches you to learn from someone else's mistake, so you don't repeat it in your own life. If you learn the life lesson, then a happier person you will be. RJ liked to be happy, so she eagerly told her Grampy to tell her the story. Well, there was a little girl who was 3 years old, and her father asked her to put the broom in the broom closet. The little girl refused to obey her father, and her father told the little girl that if she did not obey as she was asked, she would be spanked. The little girl still refused to put the broom in the broom closet. Her father told the little girl that for every time she refused, she would get spanked. The father gave the little girl 16 chances to obey him, and 16 times the little girl refused. So the father kept his word and carried out the punishment and spanked the little girl 16 times. Did the little girl cry? Asked RJ. Yes, she did, replied Grampy. But what was most important was that the little girl learned it was better to obey the first time she was asked, so she would not get punished. RJ turned to her mother and said, I'm sorry I did not obey you the first time you asked me to pick up my coat. I'll do it right now, and RJ did. After hanging up her coat, she asked, Grampy, who was the little girl who got spanked? It was your mother, Grampy replied. RJ was really surprised at this answer. It made the story mean more to her, and so she said, Thank you, Mummy, for letting me learn the life lesson so I didn't have to learn from my getting spanked myself. You're welcome, RJ. And what was the life lesson you learned today? Asked RJ's mother. To obey the first time you are asked, because that makes everyone happy, RJ exclaimed. That's right, RJ, but there is more to the story, said Grampy. What's that, Grampy? Asked RJ. Well, years later, when your mom was all grown up, I learned a life lesson about why your mom did not want to put the broom in the broom closet. You see, I did not ask your mother why she did not want to put the broom in the broom closet. I just assumed that it was because your mother was disobeying me. You mean she had a good reason why she didn't want to put the broom in the broom closet? Asked RJ eagerly. Yes, she did. She told me it was because she hated the smell the broom closet made, and that putting something in the broom closet made her stomach feel funny. Grampy continued. Why did the broom closet smell funny? Asked RJ. We used to put the garbage pail in the broom closet, explained Grampy. Ugh, yuck, explained RJ. Yes, and for your mother, who was only 3 at the time, when I asked her to put the broom in the broom closet, her nose would have been at the same level the garbage pail was, which would make the smell even worse for her, explained Grampy. So what was the life lesson you learned? Asked RJ. To ask someone why they won't do what you ask them to do and not assume you know why, finished Grampy. RJ thought back to when her mother asked her to pick up her coat. She remembered her mother had asked her why she would not pick it up, and she had ignored her mother and kept right on going. So she said, Mummy, I'm sorry I ignored you when you asked me why I did not want to pick up my coat. It was because I wanted to see Grampy so badly that nothing else really mattered. Thank you for explaining it to me right now, RJ's mother said lovingly. I love learning life lessons, RJ said honestly. Learning life lessons makes everyone happy, doesn't it? Yes, both Grampy and RJ's mother said in unison. The story you just heard was a true story. And this was me at 3, and that story happened to me. I'm the Rita in the story, and I got spanked. And do you want to meet RJ? RJ is right here. This is RJ. She's my doll. I pretended in the story she was my daughter. You see, what that story was a triction story. Triction is a word I made up. It means truth hidden in fiction. Now, RJ really isn't my daughter. I just pretend she is in the story. But what happened to the little girl really did happen to me. I hope you enjoyed the life lesson. See you next time.